Hey, if you miss us live, you can listen to us wherever you get your podcast.
My name's Tony Wood. I'm the general manager at Fred Bean's Kia and Langhorne. I just wanted to take a minute to talk about Larry Feldman at Career Changers USA. Larry and I have been working together for about the last 12 years now, and anything I've ever needed as far as recruiting, training, Larry's been right there. Larry's got me salespeople, he's got me managers, he's got me technicians even through the toughest times in the industry, and he is just the kind of guy who's going to tell you exactly what's on his mind. He's going to tell you exactly what he thinks. But Larry also has the expertise to back it up. When he was in the dealership world, he was a top performer. And that's really important to my staff, especially as it pertains to training. A lot of people can come in and teach out of a textbook, but Larry has real world experience dealing with customers, dealing with situations in dealerships that we go through on a daily basis and try to train on. But Larry's been through it, so he can really empathize with the people and tell you what's worked for him and maybe what way not to go. Larry is just always at a 10. I mean, his energy level is always up there. And I think people, they just love that and they feed off of it. He's not faking it. He is genuinely excited to come in and help you. He's excited to come in and help grow your business. And he's one of those people who just really enjoys seeing dealers succeed and have a lot of fun at the same time.
Life is about connection, having a support system to lean on, and roads to endless possibility. At every turn, guiding the way, we are building the connections that move you.
So what would your dealership feel like if your entire sales staff was literally on fire, your sales and service staff? They were nonstop all over social media, completely dominating your marketplace. They could do it in 30 days or less and then continue their education to do it for an entire 6 months or a year. You literally would completely take over the entire marketplace and no one would be able to compete with you. And that's what we can do for you. So when you're walking around your community, whether you're at local restaurants or you're going to the gym, if you don't want to be bothered, fine, you won't be bothered. But a lot of people will walk up to you and say, oh my God, I love your social media. Your staff is amazing. We love what you're doing in the community. We want to come buy a car from you. We want to get an oil change at your dealership. Your community is absolutely going to love you. And it doesn't matter what platform you're on. You could be on TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all social media platforms. You will literally be all over the place. And not only will you have ads running, but your own staff is going to be promoting your brand and promoting themselves within the dealership and within the business. So it's like running an ad times 100-fold because your entire staff is participating in the process. I've traveled all over North America. I've trained Toyota. I've trained Nissan. I've been to driving sales. I've been to Women in Auto. I get hired as a speaker for conferences at universities all over the country. And I can help change the trajectory of your dealership right now.
Hello, this is Ian.
And this is Jeff here at NADA 2024 with our very good friend, the one, the only, the man, the legend, Tim Hayden, the Brain and Brain Trust, the partner and partners. Hi, Tim.
Well, hello, Jeff. Hello, Ian. Thanks for having me, guys.
Well, thank you. Thanks for a great dinner last night. I'm still stuffed, so
You bet,
it
man.
was very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what brings you here?
Well, to be quite honest, the Star Standard Alliance, right? Star Council general session was on Wednesday. I was invited to speak and talk about what's going on with artificial intelligence and what do dealers really need to be thinking about when it comes to data management, right? What are the opportunities they have to leverage their first-party assets that they have, which is the data they're sitting.
Yeah. Yeah. And what have you succeeded? Other than the great speaking thing, everybody was talking about you. It was in the newspaper and everything.
Yeah, exactly. The paparazzi. Fine. 10 o'clock news here in Vegas.
Exactly. Or the 5 a.m. news or the 3 a.m.
Place.
Yeah.
Definitely had some success. Have had some, we almost exclusively work with larger dealer groups that have, usually 30 rooftops or more. So not the biggest, but we could do that. A lot of the technology we bring has been proven in the enterprise outside of the auto industry. And I think that's what people don't understand is you don't need to have a data management platform, whether that's master data management or a customer data platform that was specifically built for the car biz. You just need something that's been proven and can deal with complex data because this is an industry that has data coming from everywhere.
Yeah.
And more on the way, right? When we think about connected vehicles, when we think about how people pair their phones, it may have either a dealer or an OEM issued app on their phone, which somehow talks with ODD technology, right? I mean, there's all kinds of directions this could go right now. And I think that, being here and being able to meet with both dealerships, OEMs, and a lot of the vendors, we're coming out of here with some prospects. We're coming out of here with some partners. And we might have a booth next year.
Ooh.
Big stuff.
Ooh, maybe we can get passes next year.
Yeah. Always looking for sponsors.
Well, you mentioned car data. It's very interesting. Something's been in the back of my mind. Just I think about it, I forget about it. But the car data is going to pick up where you go in your car.
Right.
Like I can only imagine as you're, in the not too distant future, or maybe now, you're driving down the road and a thing pings up that there's McDonald's 3 blocks away because you go to McDonald's a lot.
Right. Well, and don't think that already isn't happening when you use Waze or you use Google Maps.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the whole world has been mapped and it's been mapped again and again and again. And you think about the biggest tech companies in the world, they're the ones who've been doing a whole lot of the mapping, whether they do it themselves or they have third-party partnerships, right?
Yeah.
And everybody wants to win the attention game, right? There are, no matter what we do with technology, no matter what we do with media, content, our lives, our lifestyles, there's still only 24 hours in the day. So what we're seeing right now, I think, especially in the case of Google, Apple, Amazon, Samsung, the OEMs themselves, they see what you've already made the point, right? Is, hey, there's more than just the driving of the car that's happening here, right?
Yeah.
There's human intelligence. There's behavioral intelligence that comes from it, right? So when you think about data, most people on the floor in there are talking about moving metal, right? They get so many units per month that they have to go up and to the right. At the end of the day, there's a bigger play, right? It's not the oil in the car, it's the oil that's going through those data pipes that everybody's fighting over and drilling for right now.
Actually, it's now the electricity going through those data pipes too.
And a whole lot of electricity, right? And sometimes a mix of both, right? Oh, and what happened in the last 2 or 3 weeks? All of a sudden, 2 or 3 OEMs have got hydrogen fuel cells that they're saying will be in market within a couple of years, maybe tested in some countries around, right? I mean, this could end up anywhere, right? It's not going to be something that is legislated, which is what you hear a lot of dealers saying, right? They're saying, oh, this administration, where they talk about something that's happening, and they want to point the finger at it's threatening energy independence or something like that. The ship has sailed, right? This is where we're going. The next generation of vehicles will be powered by something other than internal combustion dinosaur bones.
Although, frankly, there's going to be, well, good thing you said dinosaur bones, because our friends at Toyota
Right.
are doing internal combustion hydrogen,
Yes.
which I don't know, internal and combustion and hydrogen, I don't think those words should be together, right?
Well, I mean, you hear a lot of talk about engine designs and engine choices, and I think I've been saying this for many years. It's all about choices, and it's more about that customer, not only the way they use the car, maybe historically was asking questions, but to your point, data, it's, what is needed in a certain market. What's needed in California, in LA might be different than what's needed
It
in
all
Oregon.
comes back to that, right?
Yeah.
And people want to know. They want to know why we do things and how we're using things, and what's the wear and tear, what's the performance look like, all of that. It's what you just said, choices. Yeah, kind of like we use regular microphones and you use a spool tail. I mean, that's
Herbie.
I'm sorry?
Herbie.
Oh, Herbie.
Yeah, like sometimes people don't want healthy options, even though they should, right?
Especially if they're in Vegas.
Hey, we were just at a booth, and we won't mention a name because I don't want to out somebody. But this lady we're talking to, a good friend of ours, nice lady, wonderful lady, and she says, I gotta go get something to eat. And so Ian says, well, there's some healthy choices over here. She said, I don't want healthy. I want grease.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you wake up in Vegas and you feel the way you do. Is like you think I need a cheeseburger, right?
Yeah. Well, it's funny when you got that whole Vegas experience, then you add a convention to it.
Right.
And then you had 17,000 steps in a day, sore feet. Immediately you go later, get me some liquid painkiller, right?
That's right. Yeah. Hair of the dog.
And the hair.
Hair of the dog, right?
What's your view of the whole, what's your overview as a quasi insider, because you're not a dealer, you do all sorts of other stuff than automotive.
Right.
What's your take on the general, I don't want to say the air, but the general feeling from people? What is it that they're doing here? What other than just coming for a party?
Well, I think everyone is trying to make sense of things we've already talked about, right? The market is volatile. It's the variables are there. We have interest rates, we have inflation, we have EVs that sold like hotcakes for a couple of years and aren't selling so well right now. They cost a whole lot, right? Is it the price that's the reason? People are asking all kinds of questions. Nobody really has a firm answer for any of these questions, right? So I think you hear a lot of that in conversation. I would be honest, though, categorically, everybody's excited about automation, right? They're all excited about how artificial intelligence seems to be here. It seems to be everywhere. And somehow we should be able to do things better, faster, cheaper, and more accurate. The problem is these are car dealers, and they're still just looking at the top of the funnel, right? They're not understanding that they're sitting on gold in terms of people that bought vehicles from them 10, 15, 20 years ago. There's beautiful intelligence in that would help you sell cars and not be stuck paying Apple, Google, Meta, and all these other folks as intermediaries to find new folks, right? So, I mean, there's the other thing that came out of this that's related to that is a lot of what you see on the floor are what we're called wrappers, right? People are wrapping ChatGPT and creating these, I don't want to name names, but there are several vendors that are out there right now and that are freely saying that they built their little chatbot, their little language model, their GPT, they built it with OpenAI, right? The problem with that is that OpenAI is a third party. And we're talking about intelligence, not software here. This is not that fields and buttons will be added or taken away from you. This is the fact that the core intelligence, the core information that platform uses is going to change, and it will never be trained on your data, right?
Yeah.
Which is what I think most people have to look at. To that end, there are a few platforms in there, including a lot of the CDPs and some of the DMSs that are starting to talk about how do we leverage applied in artificial intelligence inside the four walls and the pipes instead of going to a third party outside, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's just a question of maturity.
Yeah.
Right.
It's those like those dealers that are grandfathered into the old CRMs where they didn't ever, the topic of owning their data was not a topic.
Right.
And now they're fighting to get their own data back.
Right. I mean, it's real estate at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right. And all the same ways that we get litigious over real estate.
Location, location, location.
And the same thing with your intelligence, right? If you have data, you've captured data, you usually have some terms and conditions that everyone's agreed to in terms of your ability to manage that data and process that data. You have a whole boatload of state data privacy laws that dictate that, right? Not to mention the FTC, and we won't even begin to try to talk about what the FTC is saying you can and can't do with your data.
And then what the FTC says with your state data laws, with your county data's laws, and it's then the OEM wants you to do something different.
Right.
Or charge you for accessing your own data.
Or charge you for accessing your own data, right? And you see that's one of the things that hinders and I think slows this industry down is because you don't have vendors that are playing very nice. They're not being very cooperative.
No.
When it comes down to API connections in terms of being able to say a customer record originated in one system, but now the customer is operating another side of the business. Nowhere clearer is that fight between 50 variables, right? But there doesn't need to be a split there. It's the same customer, right? There's not a dealer in here that can tell you who their highest value customers are because they don't know.
Well, we interviewed somebody this morning, and they have a product,
right?
And as the car goes into service, it goes through a
Tunnel.
But it's a little tiny tunnel, like it's big and tall, but it's only about
Lights up.
4 feet wide, lights up. Takes 2,000 pictures of the car. It scans the undercarriage.
Yeah.
It looks for leaks. It looks for tire wear. It looks for nicks and dings.
Right.
And by the time it gets through this to the service advisor, they've got an entire 2,000 or 5,000 snapshots of the car to know what's going on. Now, there you go.
There's some machine learning work there to look at all that. Right?
Exactly. And then at the same time the advisor gets it, the service manager gets it, the used car manager gets it, the GSM, the GM gets all this information on somebody.
Right.
It pops up on their screen. They have a bright blue Corvette there. So the used car manager goes, I got a guy looking for a blue Corvette. Mr. Jones, well, there's one problem. AI, all this other stuff, there is one individual intelligence.
Yes.
And you can have AI reach out with the most human sounding voice. We would love to talk to you about your car, but that could never replace, hey, this is Jane, the used car manager.
Right.
See, I'm being very equal opportunity. And I very much want to talk to you about your car. I do have a potential buyer for your car. That's a big difference than the humanoid sounding.
Totally. And I think the FTC has a thing or two to say about you doing robocalls, right? That using AI to come up with things, right? Representation of a human, and the claims that voice would make to a customer, right? So there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's the kind of AI regulation or AI governance that has to be in place, just so things don't go wrong, right? So I think it's fascinating that we have these capabilities. To the point I just made, though, the people that have got this wonderful X-ray vision tunnel, it's looking all over the vehicle, right? They need to also have all their API documentation ready to go to talk about how that data can go somewhere else, to a CRM, to a customer data platform, maybe to an inventory management platform, any of these other things that you have in place. We've got to understand that the opportunity, whether it's the VIN or it's the customer, those are the stakes, those are the fuel for the business, right? And because of that, we need to democratize who has access to it and how it's leveraged.
I like that. Democratize. It's right there with the algorithms.
Oh, yeah. I mean, how creepy would it be if Henry Ford called you after they scanned your car and said, hey, we have a buyer for your car. And he's been dead for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here, what's going to be even crazier with that is Don and Joe are going to start calling you very soon.
Yeah.
And that's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I think, the thing that's going on with big tech AI, what Apple bring to market sometime this year, which is the the program name for it. It's Ferret, right? That's the project name for it. Something that'll live behind Siri, that will be able to, as ferrets do, dig down into all of your data and be able to answer any question you have. Read an email for me from 5 years ago, kind of thing, right? Sounds nice, right? The thing is, again, they're going for the win on the attention. The more we start to talk to these things, the more time we spend with them, the more utilitarian they become, the more they're trained on its personality. Same thing with Google and Gemini, right? Both of these products launch sometime probably in Q3, which is not coincidental when Google is going to finally deprecate third-party cookies, right? This is all connected. Google Analytics 4 was not a replacement for Google Analytics. GA4 was you opting in to make their intelligence brighter.
I'm going to say my favorite name the whole time we talk about AI, John Connor.
Yeah.
We need John. Come back, John. No.
It's like when they ask you those questions to verify you in the pictures.
Right.
They're doing that to study and to get better at doing that. It's not about verifying you. It's about gathering that data on how people look at images.
Well, we opt into these systems. I mean, I'm a Clear Plus user, right?
Yeah.
Which means that I get a rental scan. I go to a football game when I'm at the airport. I don't have to show a driver's license. I don't even have to show anything but the barcode on my phone for the ticket one time, right? And then again, just to flash it. They don't scan it.
Yeah.
To flash TSA because my eyes have already been confirmed, and the clear person says, "Hey, he's good to go." Right? That's happening in a lot of places, not just facial recognition. So this gets into John Anderson. If you remember him, talk about John Connor.
Yeah.
We've got John Anderson. I think it was Tom Cruise.
Yeah. Oh, the Minority Report.
Minority Report.
Where he got his eyeballs to in.
You got the other guys, Dr. Yamaguchi or whatever the guys think. Yeah. But this is where it's headed, right?
Yeah.
This is personal, identifiable information, right? Which right now, the state of things is I have your email address, cell phone number. I can know if you're gay or straight, Catholic or Jewish, or what magazines you subscribe to, what kind of car you drive, how many kids you have. I can find out all those things. Your credit score, I can find all of that. How many your social security? So we talk about retinas. We talk about other things. This is all happening in real time, and it's something we can stop from happening.
No.
Not only that, when you look at some of these sci-fi movies, and a lot of people like to use those as examples, you also got to look at it and say, at what point does some of that stuff start to say, okay, maybe we're moving this too quick? Right? I think some of the government guys are sort of saying that, pick your party, but at the end of the day, I think some of it, you have to put some roadblocks to see if it even makes sense.
Right.
And that's going to be the interesting part, I think.
Well, that's where we get into learning and deep learning, right?
Yeah.
With data and with AI models.
Yeah.
Right. That's the thing is as the more we play with these things, I'll just use an example that's right back in this industry. People who don't think that self-driving vehicles are going to happen in the next decade. A lot of people don't think that's going to happen, and not in the state that they will in a decade, but they'll be here before you know it. Because guess what? Most of us are playing with adaptive cruise control and lane assist all the time with our vehicles, but at the same time, we're also using Google Maps or we're using Waze, and these things are being correlated, right, in real time. Uber sells their data to tractor manufacturers, right? I mean, they're not a transportation network company; they're a data company.
Oh, they all are data. Everybody's moving to data companies. They data companies that gain their data from X.
Yeah. Well, that's when I spoke at Star the other day. One of the examples I gave is the X companies, right?
Yeah.
Is the X companies. There's 3 million cars, 3 million Teslas that are connected in real time to Dojo, which is the supercomputer, right? Rock is the new learning model, which is built mainly on Twitter data, old Twitter data. When Musk bought Twitter, along with a bunch of Wall Street, right? When they bought Twitter, they didn't buy a social network. They bought 18 years of human thought. And now that there are 2 million people using Starlink to get all the content and all of the internet access to and from their house, you can only think for about another 2 seconds about how much data that one company has, right? And don't think that they're separate companies, because they're all being connected on the back end to create something that's hyper intelligent, right? So, I think this is a good time to say, what will this show look like next year, right? Because these things are happening over the course of the next 3 quarters. They will happen before the next year.
But it's funny. 2 years ago, everybody was hailing the selling cars on the metaverse.
Yes.
And that disappeared. In fact, the guy that sold the first car in the metaverse left his dealership to go to a data company.
Cars Commerce, I believe.
Yeah. Cars.com.
Cars Commerce. It's new branding.
Everybody's changing their name.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I do believe in this, because I think this is a lot deeper than metaverse-y stuff, because I think metaverse was just something out of a game. VinQ last year, their big thing was to show that,
Let me interrupt you real quick. You say that today is the day, February 2nd, 2024 is the day that the Vision Pros first start landing on people's front steps from Apple.
Oh yeah, those new wearables.
The new what they're calling spatial computing, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, I'm with you on the metaverse and virtual reality. I have a 12-year-old son. The last thing I want him to do is to think he can visit Italy sitting on the couch, right? I mean, that's the last thing.
Eating Cheetos.
Yeah, eating Cheetos. I would go back to movies or go back to books. You read Ready Player One.
Yeah.
It's not the kind of life we want, right? But there's new dynamics in terms of how data is being used and how we're, as the thing I like to say is just a quote from Social Dilemmas. If you're not paying for the product, you are the product, right?
Yeah.
So as in that case, people are paying $3,500 for these Vision Pro goggles. They're those early adopters. They're the ones that are going to be the beta testers.
Yeah.
All the rest of us.
Well, and that's the key, that the beta testers, the beta test fails or doesn't go, let me rephrase it, it won't fail, but go the way they want it, then it won't go the way they want it. Look at Google Glasses. Right?
Look at Oculus.
Sorry?
Look at Oculus. Remember we were at Danny's booth, I think it was Used Car Week a couple years ago, and we wore the Oculus and we were walking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we were walking through his office and seeing him and everything, and you just look like an idiot.
Yeah.
Of course, I started doing this, and then I started going, for everybody watching.
Yeah.
But that didn't go over. Maybe this will, maybe this won't. Maybe it'll just be okay.
Right.
Maybe it'll be in the land of geekdom. Who knows? We'll find out.
Yeah.
So
We'll see.
that's perfect.
All right.
We'll leave it at that. Thank you so much, as always. Man, I can't tell you how much we appreciate the support. Love seeing you tune in, and always get excited, except we watch now. If there's Tim Hatton, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
If Tim Hatton locks in, he ain't going anywhere. Tim Hayden,
Hey, if you missed us live, you can listen to us wherever you get your podcast.